Okay, hopefully I'm in focus. I'm trying to do this review without my glasses because I think it helps me look straight down the lens and not off to the right to the screen. But if it means I'm out of focus, it's probably not worth the trade-off. Today I am talking about the Nikon AIS lenses, which are my favorite set of vintage lenses that I've ever owned so far. I currently have in my arsenal the Nikon AIS 28mm f2.8, the 50mm 1.4 AIS as well. All three lenses are the AIS build. And then I have the 85mm 1.8 as well. These lenses are just really fun to use. They have a cool amount of character, plenty of chromatic aberration and things that people don't typically like. To be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of chromatic aberration in my shots. I actually try to avoid it as well. But what might put into perspective for other people who haven't used these lenses is that whenever I see chromatic aberration on these, I think it just fits. I don't know, there's so much character in the lens, it just feels different. Everything feels filmic. I have to say, of the three lenses, my favorite is the 50mm 1.4. I think stopped down to 1.4, that thing is insanely soft. I think I've got a little bit of haze or fungus in there, but it doesn't seem to affect the shots too much. It's just the corner of the image I've noticed can get a little funny looking. And when you look into the actual lens element, there's just a little bit of something going on there, but it doesn't seem to affect the shots too much. A few years ago, I actually purchased my first film camera ever, the Nikon F3. I didn't think too much about the lens that was attached to it because it came with the 50mm 1.4 that I'm talking about today. Shot a bunch of film, but never processed anything because I was sort of scared of what the results would look like and thought it would all be trash. So to this day, the camera just sits on my shelf, and one day I will actually dabble in some film photography, hopefully. But what I did use from that experience is the 50mm 1.4. My first mirrorless camera staying with the Nikon system was actually the first iteration of the Nikon Z6, which I loved before I moved on to Fujifilm. So I've got this very, very cheap Earth adapter. I think I got this off eBay for like $20 Australian, which is pretty darn cheap. And as far as I know, it does a good job. I mean, I don't have any issues. It's pretty much just an adapter that just, you know, there's no electrical connections or anything, so it doesn't really have to do anything too difficult. One thing I really want to get in the future is a speed booster to actually use these lenses at their proper focal length as they were intended. So I know Metabones is out there making some fantastic ones, but they're very, very expensive. And there's Viltrox. I think there's a new Fringer Ultra that came out as well. I'm waiting to see some reviews on that. Viltrox, if you're watching, I would love to test one out. I would love the opportunity to test one out. Let's chat about it. Man, this is really not flowing today. I think when I use these lenses, it sort of takes me back to even using camcorders back in the day with the quality. Not to say that the quality is much less, but just the feeling and just the textures and just everything that these lenses create when you shoot something with them. It takes me back to a time that was way more simple, when there wasn't actually any pressure to create anything, and it was more about the enjoyment of the craft itself. If you're someone who's thinking about getting some vintage lenses, I would really highly recommend these. Not only are they fantastic, they're fun to use, and they also just like make you feel a certain way when you use them. They're pretty cheap, and they haven't really been hit by the bro tax of people looking at vintage lenses. There are no Canon FD lenses or any other vintage like Carl Zeiss lenses, anything else that was produced around the same sort of era that has been hit with massive surges in pricing. These haven't quite been hit by it yet. If you're watching this video, there's probably a good chance that you also saw my Sirui Nightwalker review, and I would actually say that the image quality between these lenses and the Nightwalkers isn't actually that much different. There's probably a little bit more character in these lenses, as well as the fact that there's like more chromatic aberration and some weird fringing going on with these lenses. They're pretty old, but it's cool to have these lenses at this time and still be using them and creating content that looks a little different. I think a lot of people also sort of get caught up with making content that just looks too corporate and not experimenting with looks that other lenses can give you. I'm not done building this kit yet. I have a few ideas of what I want to get next. I would love something a little bit wider, 20mm is my favorite focal length. So something like that would be cool, as well as something around the 105 to 130 focal length as well would be great. And I think that would sort of fully round out the set. And then maybe I might screw around and get a fisheye as well. The thing is, like, buying a full kit like this and having a lens for almost every scenario when you're buying these lenses is pretty much the same cost as buying a higher end photography lens these days. You're getting so much more character as well as a full focal range for about the same price. To me, it's a no-brainer. I really love these lenses. I really enjoy shooting with them. I hope that some of the footage you've seen today might push you towards thinking about maybe picking some up. I really think you can't go wrong with these. Obviously, you just have to make sure that when you're looking at the advertisement, whether it's eBay or anything like that, just make sure that it says that it's perfect optical condition. You don't want to get stung with some hazing or some random fungus in your lens. And they'll always state, at least in my experience, they'll always state whether the lens has that in it. Do your due diligence with this sort of thing, and make sure you're getting the best copies that you can get. I'm very thankful to my partner for allowing me to endlessly test these lenses on her. So I'd just like to thank her as well for supporting me in these endeavors. Thank you as well to Christian, who helped me shoot some of the B-roll of this. It's been really great collaborating with him and testing out all of the random lenses that we both have in our arsenal. I've definitely got a few lenses in the pipeline that I'd love to do some reviews for, as well as some more narrative-based content. I've been coming up with some ideas recently of shooting with some short films and short pieces of content that I would love to share with you guys online as well. So hopefully it won't always just be lens reviews, but doing these reviews has really just given me a base and a creative outlet that has pushed me to keep going forward. So I really appreciate everyone who's watching, and hopefully you'll continue to do so a few videos down the track. Shooting on these lenses and creating stories with these lenses make you feel things more so than modern photography lenses. I'm going to leave it at that. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.